Welcome to Why Channel, a Stoic once said. The obstacle is the way. But what if the obstacle is her return? What if the challenge isn't just letting go, but deciding whether to let her back in? She left you once, maybe for space, maybe for someone else, maybe without a real explanation. And now she's back with softer words, warmer eyes, and a door that's suddenly open again. This video is about looking at yourself, not through the eyes of the past, but through the lens of who you've become since she walked away. Because maybe you've built peace in the silence. Maybe you've learned how to breathe without her presence, how to find strength in solitude. So before you answer that question, should I take her back? Let's pause. Let's think like a Stoic with wisdom. Because not every second chance is meant to be taken, and not every return is a sign of growth. Sometimes it's just a loop. Let's break it with reason, not emotion. Number one, the sting of being left first. Let's not sugarcoat it. She left. She made a choice. And that choice had consequences. Don't bury the pain, but don't let it control you either. A Stoic man doesn't chase closure or beg for return, he observes. He learns, he accepts before you. Even think about taking her back, ask, have you truly sat with that pain, or just tried to escape it? Because here's the truth. Being left by someone you gave your heart to, someone you pictured a future with, cuts deep. It hits your pride, your ego, and your sense of self-worth. Maybe you stayed up nights replaying Thella's conversation. Maybe you scrolled through old photos trying to decode when things started to slip. That sting you feel, it's real. But it's also your teacher. In Stoicism, we don't run from discomfort. We use it. Pain, when handled with clarity, becomes power. So, sit with it. Let it burn, but don't let it break. Reflect without bitterness. She may have walked away, but you get to decide what that moment makes of you. Will it make you smaller, desperate for validation, or will it make you stronger, calmer, and more in tune with your value? Think of a man who's been through this before. He didn't beg, didn't chase, didn't lose himself. He took time in solitude. He went for long walks without needing a destination. He journaled. He trained his mind and body, and when she came back, he didn't jump. I looked her in the eye, calm and composed, and asked himself quietly, is this aligned with the man I've become? You need that stillness before you make any decision. Because if you take her back just to soothe the ache, you'll end up right back in that pain again. But if you take her back from a place of strength, clarity, and inner peace, it won't be about filling a void. It'll be about choosing, not needing. Memory. V's. Reality, number 2. Memory versus reality. You're not missing her. You're missing a version of her that made you feel something. It's easy to glorify the past, especially when you're lonely. But memory has a way of editing, smoothing out the rough edges, amplifying the sweet moments, blurring the ones that left you feeling empty. Starto, remember the way she laughed at your jokes, the way she held your hand during tough times, the way she looked at you like you were her world. And maybe she did once, but memory is not reality. And just because it felt good at times, doesn't mean it was good for you. See, in moments of solitude, your mind will try to comfort you, not with truth, but with illusion. It will replay the highlight, reel and mute the parts where she withdrew when you needed support, the words that cut deep during arguments, the subtle disconnection that made you question your worth. It's not betrayal to remember those parts. It's clarity, as Marcus Aurelius wrote. If Simeone can show me I am wrong, I will happily change. So here's your challenge. Be honest with yourself. Were you wrong about who she really was? Or did you fall in love with potential, with hope, with the idea of her in the reality? Before you consider taking her back, sit with this truth. You might be chasing a ghost. Not the woman who left, but the version you wish had been. There's a difference between forgiving someone and rewriting these pasts to justify letting them back in. So breathe, reflect, be brutally honest. If the woman you remember isn't the woman who walked away from you, maybe what you're longing for isn't her return, but your healing. Let her be who she chose to be. You, on the other hand, choose truth. Choose peace.
Yes.
It's a version of yourself that no longer needs to romanticize what hurt you. Before we move on to the next insight, I'd love to hear what part of this hit home. For you, drop a comment and share your thoughts, or simply type, "I choose truth over illusion." That one sentence can be your quiet declaration of clarity. And if you're finding value in this journey, don't forget to like the video. It helps us reach others who need this message too. Let's keep going. Number 3, has she grown? Or just has she grown? Or just misses the comfort? Misses the comfort? People don't always come back because they've changed. Sometimes they just want the comfort you used to provide. So before you open theta, look at her, not the words. Has her mindset shifted? Does she take accountability? A disciplined man watches patterns, not promises. Now I want you to really sit with that for a second. It's easy to mistake a return for redemption. You see her message, you hear her voice again, and it stirs up all the emotions. The late night talks, the way she made you feel. It's the familiarity that once felt like home. But comfort isn't growth. Nostalgia isn't transformation. And if you let your guard down too quickly, you risk stepping into the same storm you barely served the first time. Ask yourself, is she showing up differently? Or is she just showing up because she misses the safety net you once were? Has she donneth work? Or is she hoping you haven't moved on? A man guided by Stoic principles doesn't judge by emotion alone, he observes. Marcus Aurelius Sormundus, if someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. But the key lies in proof. Has she shown you change, or just told you? Maybe she says all the right things now. Maybe she swears she understands what she lost. But words are easy when you're lonely. Comfort feels like clarity when the world outside is cold. Look deeper. Has she started taking responsibility without being asked? Has she broken her own patterns, emotionally, mentally, even behaviorally? Or is she still the same, just temporarily? Shaken by your absence? A man who respects himself doesn't open the same door twice just to get wounded in a familiar way. You're not a backup Len. You're not a retreat from her discomfort. You're peace. And peace will not be rented out to those who only come back when the storm gets too loud. If you're considering letting her back in, do it not out of longing, but out of clarity. Ask yourself, is theastrally a second chance, or just the same cycle trying to disguise itself as fate? Your standards are not a doormat number for your standards. Are not a doormat. You're not a revolving door. She walked away. That matters. Maybe she came back with soft words and familiar energy. Maybe she says she misses you, regrets everything, and just wants things to be how they were. But here's the thing, brother. They were is exactly what made her think she could leave you in the first place. Forgiveness in its purest form is powerful. It frees you from bitterness. But letting someone back into your life is not the same as letting go of resentment. One is emotional release, the other is access. And access must be earned. Stoic man doesn't close his heart out of spite. He doesn't scream, block, or make threats. He simply evaluates. He observes if there's been change, not just in words, but in character. Has she developed self-awareness? Or is she just comfortable with being alone? Marcus Aurelius said, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The same applies here. If it's no true growth, don't pretend it is. If it's not aligned with your values, don't accept it just because you're lonely. Let me give you an example. A man I knew once had a partner who left him during a rough patch. Said she needed space, clarity, time. Months later, she returned. Not because she had changed, but because life outside the relationship was colder than she expected. He, thinking it was love rekindled, welcomed her without discussion, without standards. Within weeks, the same patterns returned. She drifted again, and this time, it broke him. You don't need to repeat that cycle. You don't need to act out of forethought. No one else will come. Your standards are a reflection of your self-respect. And respect isn't rigid, but it is firm. If you let her return without holding the line, without ensuring she truly understands the weight of walking away, you send the message that you'll always be there, regardless of how you're treated. Trust isn't a light. Switch number 5. Trust isn't a light switch. Trust doesn't return just because Aman says, I'm sorry. It's rebuilt slowly, brick by brick. Over time and sometimes, it never comes back the same. You must ask, can I ever feel safe with her again? Or am I just scared to be alone? The Stoic doesn't fear loneliness. He respects truth. And that truth, it requires you to look past the words and into the actions. It asks you to quiet your emotions long enough to see the situation as it really is, not as you wish it to be. She left. That decision wasn't an accident. It came from somewhere. Doubt, disappointment, or maybe just a moment of selfishness. Whatever. The reason, it had consequences. Your trust, your security, your emotional peace, all of that was shaken. And you can't just flick a switch and pretend that didn't happen. A man who lives by Stoic principles understands that rebuilding trust isn't about forgetting the past. It's about evaluating the present. If she's back now, you have to ask why. Reflected, changed, and wants to rebuild something strong? Or is it because she's lonely, bored, or suddenly realizing what she lost? Those are very different motivations, and only one of them can sustain a healthy relationship. Picture this like a burned bridge. You can rebuild it, yes, beautifully, if both sides are willing to lay the stones day after day with consistency and effort. And even then, it might not look like the old bridge. It may never feel the same. That's the cost of betrayal, of abandonment. Trust once damaged becomes something fragile. And if you take her back without acknowledging that, without setting new boundaries or seeing clear change, you're not rebuilding. You're resetting a trap. Sometimes we convince ourselves as giving someone another chance is the brave, compassionate thing to do. But Stoicism teaches us something deeper. Compassion without wisdom is self-betrayal. But you are not obligated to hand your trust back just because shared. You're not cruel for needing time. You're not heartless for having doubts. Those are signs of a man who values himself, who honors his own peace, or doesn't just hand out access to his heart like a spare key. Ask yourself, would you trust you again if the roles were reversed? Would you be convinced by her actions, not just her apologies? And most of all, can you move forward without carrying silent resentment or fear? Because if the answer is no, then taking her back isn't healing, it's avoidance. Remember, the Stoic doesn't run from pain, but he doesn't invite it back in just because. It knocks with softer hands. You owe yourself to protect the peace you've started to rebuild in her absence. That peace is sacred. The trust you lost, it was real. And the only person who should get another chance is the one who's done the inner work to earn it. What has changed? Not just what she says, number 6. What has changed? Not just what she says, words or wind. She says she's changed, let her. Show it over weeks, over months. You're not looking for sparks. You're looking for consistency, because a Stoic man values evidence, not emotion. Let's be real. When someone wants back into your life, they'll say all the right things. I've grown. You understand now. This time will be different. And maybe they believe it. Maybe in that moment they mean it. But belief doesn't build trust. Actions do. Consistency does. A Stoic man doesn't rush to embrace hope. He watches. He observes patterns, not promises. Ask yourself, what exactly has changed? Not just in her, but in the dynamic. Has she taken responsibility, or is she just seeking relief from her loneliness? Has she faced her own flaws, or is she avoiding discomfort by running back to something familiar? Because reconciliation without reflection is just a cycle waiting to repeat. I've seen this play out before. A woman leaves thinking there's something better out there. Then she tastes uncertainty or finds herself with someone who lacks the depth you once gave. Suddenly, her memory starts rewriting the past. And when she returns, it's easy to want to believe her, especially if you still have feelings. But that's where discipline comes in. That's where yoke come in. As Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be and then do what you have to do. If you want peace, strength, clarity, you can't sacrifice them for comfort. If she's truly changed, it won't just show in her words. It'll show in her presence, in her patience, and how she respects your time, your standards, your new boundaries. So, take your time. Don't be swept up in nostalgia or the need for closure. You don't owe anyone instant forgiveness or a fast track back into your life. The man who stands firm in woe he is, who does not react impulsively but reflects wisely, is the man who chooses from strength, not from fear. And that's the question you must ask yourself now. Are you considering taking her back because she's truly grown, or because you're afraid she won't come back again? One leads to wisdom, the other to more pain. Choose like a Stoic. Choose like a man who respects his own worth. Number 7. Does she respect the man you've become? Does she respect the man you've become? You've grown since she left. You've probably learned how to sit with your pain, build your peace, sharpen your focus. That kind of growth doesn't come from reading a book or hearing a few kind words. It comes from walking through fire alone. From nights when you questioned your worth, from morning shin, you got up anyway. And over time, you started to build yourself from inside out. Calm, grounded, less reactive. You've become a man who no longer chases but chooses. That's not just healing, that's transformation. Now she wants back in. Maybe she says she misses you. Maybe she hints, atreeing again. She doesn't say much at all, but her presence returns. And here's where you need to look closer. Is she seeing you for who you are now? Or is she projecting who used to be? Because if she's still expecting the man who always texted first, who always forgave quickly, who kept the peace even when it hurt, then she's not seeing the full picture. That man, quite frankly, doesn't exist anymore, and you shouldn't bring him back just to make her comfortable. You've built a life with more discipline. Maybe you've hit the gym more. You've focused on your purpose. Maybe you've learned to sit in silence without needing anyone to fill it. It's not small progress. That's a shift in identity. And if she's walking into your life again with the same mindset she had when she walked out, there's going to be friction. Why? Because the new you has standards. And respect is no longer something you beg for. It's something you require, Stoic man. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, doesn't just react to emotion. He examines what is real. He asks himself, does this serve the life I'm building? Does it align with the peace I've earned? And so now you must ask, does your presence support who you've become? Or does it threaten to undo it? Picture 8, you've spent months working on your foundation. Your mind is quieter, your heart more centered. You don't tolerate chaos the way you used to. And suddenly Samin from your past wants to step back in, not because they've evolved, but because they miss what you gave them. But what about what you need? What about who you are now? If she doesn't respect your evolution, if she still tests boundaries, dismisses your sullency, or sees your discipline as cold, then she's still speaking to the man you outgrew. And if you allow that, you risk shrinking again just to fit a love that no longer fits you. So let her return, but don't rush. Observe. Watch her actions, not her affection. Does she approach you with humility and awareness of who you've become? Or does she expect you to pick up where things left off? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about love. It's about alignment. And the man you are today, disciplined, grounded, self-respecting, deserves a connection that honors that. Not one that tempts you to forget it. She may want another chance, but you must decide if she truly deserves one from this version of you. Before we continue, pause and reflect. You've grown and not everyone deserves access to this new version of you. Ask yourself, does her return support your peace or threaten it? Share your thoughts in the comments or simply type, I won't shrink to fit what I've outgrown. Let's keep going. Beware of the emotional transaction. Number 8. Beware of the emotional transaction. Sometimes her return is not about love. It's about emotional need, about filling her void, not valuing your presence. If she's only coming back because her world feels empty, that's not connection. That's a transaction. The Stoic man doesn't sell his peace for temporary attention. You need to pause and ask yourself, why now? Why is she suddenly reacting out after leaving you behind? Because sometimes it's not about you. It's about what she's missing. Maybe it's the attention you used to give her, the comfort, the validation, the version of you who always picked up the phone, who dropped everything to be available. She's not returning because she respects who you become, but instead because she craves what you used to provide, then that's not love, that's a trade. And you, my friend, are not some emotional vending machine. A man rooted in Stoicism understands that clarity is everything. He's not swayed by temporary emotions or sweet words. He doesn't confuse loneliness with love. He sees through the surface and watches the deeper current. You've probably worked hard to rebuild yourself after she left. You've sat with the silence, endured the sting, sharpened your discipline. Don't endure all of that progress just to soothe someone else's passing discomfort. Let's be real. When someone walks away, it's not just distance. It's a decision. And when they try to come back, you don't just open the door because they knock. You ask why they left. You ask what they've learned. You ask who they've become since. Then, and most importantly, you ask if their presence now adds value or just relieves their momentary emotional hunger. Here's something worth remembering. There's a difference between a woman who chooses to be with you because she sees your worth and one who needs to be with you because she feels lost without you. One is rooted in strength, the other in fear. A Stoic man walks with inner calm, not because he lacks emotion, but because he doesn't let emotion govern his direction. So before you take her back, look beyond the apology, beyond the "I miss you" look. At the pattern, is she returning with growth or with need? Are you being welcomed back into a partnership or pulled into a role as her emotional safety net? You didn't climb this far just to become someone's fallback plan. You're not here to rescue someone from their emptiness. You're here to protect your peace, stand firm in your value, and welcome only those who truly see you. It's not just the comfort you provide. Let her actions, not her loneliness, show you if she deserves a place in the mon. You are now. Number 9. Is it forgiveness or fear? Is it forgiveness or fear of starting over? Of starting over. Let's be honest. Are you letting her back in because you truly forgive her or because you're scared of beginning again? That's not just a rhetorical question. It's one of the most important inner confrontations a man can have after a woman walks away and then returns. Many men rush to call it forgiveness when deep down it's fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of starting from zero. Fear that maybe she was Theon and they won't find that again. But here's the truth. Fear can disguise itself as love. And if you let it steer your choices, it will lead you back into emotional chaos. When a Stoic man stands at that crossroad, he doesn't ask, "Do I miss her?" Because of course you do. You shared moments, memories, maybe even dreams. But missing her doesn't mean she's meant to be part of your future. The question is deeper. Am I at peace with my decision? Or am I just avoiding discomfort? A man who chooses based on fear is like a sailor who clings to a sinking ship back as he's afraid of the open sea. But fear doesn't build anything lasting. It only postpones the storm. Imagine a man who's been rebuilding himself after a painful breakup. He started to rediscover who he is without her. He's found new strength in solitude, maybe reconnected with friends, focused on his work, or even picked up a forgotten passion. Then one night she sends a message. "I miss you." His heart stirs. The memories flood back and suddenly with that silence, he was learning to live with feels louder than ever. In that moment, the easier choice might seem to let her back in. Not because he trusts her, but because he's tired of healing. That's the trap, choosing comfort over clarity. The Stoics remind us that true freedom lies in mastering our emotions, not being mastered by them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." So ask yourself, what's the truth in your heart? Not the hope, not the memory, not the fear, the truth. If she left you once without real reason or respect, and now she returns without showing deep growth, then taking her back isn't forgiveness. It's self-betrayal. Forgiveness is noble. It's powerful. But it must come from a place of strength, not weakness. You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can wish her well and still protect your peace. If the only reason you're letting her back in is because the idea of starting over feels too hard, then you're not choosing love, you're choosing escape, and that never ends well. Better a lonely truth than a crowded lie. A man who follows the Stoic path knows this. It's better to sleep in a quiet bed with a clear mind than to wake up next to someone who left once and may leave again. Don't take her back just because you're afraid to be alone. Take her back only if your peace, your standards, and your future remain intact. Would you take her back if you truly loved yourself? Number 10. Would you take her back if you truly loved yourself? Here's the real test. Would the man who values himself, his energy, his peace, his standards, let her back in? Not the version of you that's feeling wrecked tonight, scrolling through old photos and replaying memories, but the version of you who has sat alone with your pain and didn't run from it. The version that chose growth over bitterness, discipline over desperation. That man, the one who's earned his peace. What would he say? See, it's easy though. Confuse missing someone with loving them. But there's a difference. Missing is a feeling. Love is a choice. And when a woman who once walked away tries to return, the question isn't just about her. It's about you. Who are you now? What have you learned from her absence? Did you rebuild your identity, or are you just waiting for her to validate it again? Let's take this a step deeper. A Stoic doesn't cling. He observes. He reflects. He understands that the universe doesn't always give us what we want, but it always offers what we need to grow. Maybe her leaving wasn't a punishment. It was a gift. It forced you to stop outsourcing your worth. It made you realize that your value isn't dependent on who stays or who leaves. It's rooted in how you carry yourself when the room is empty. And now that you found that quiet strength, would you really hand it back for a moment of comfort? What this comes down to, if the man who has truly learned to love himself, his time, his dignity, his path, feels even a hint of hesitation, listen to it. That hesitation isn't fear, it's wisdom. It's your soul protecting what it worked so hard to rebuild. You might still have love for her, but that doesn't mean you owe her another chance. You can respect the past without reopening the door to it. You can feel compassion without sacrificing your standards. Self-love isn't loud. It doesn't scream or beg. It simply says, I choose me. So ask yourself again, quietly and honestly. Would you take her back if you truly loved yourself? If Thean's word deep down is no, then honor it, not to hurt her, but to protect the man you have become. Take a moment to sit with that question. Would you take her back if you truly loved yourself? Not out of loneliness, not out of nostalgia, but from a place of strength. It's not always easy to be honest with yourself, especially when emotions run deep. But clarity begins where self-respect lives. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. How would the man you've become respond today? Or if you're still processing, simply type, I choose me. Let's keep growing. Let's continue. Sometimes peace looks like letting go. Number 11. Sometimes peace looks like letting go. Closure doesn't always need conversation. Healing doesn't always need reunion. Sometimes the most powerful move a man can make is silence. It's not to punish her, not to prove anything, but because he finally understands the man he's becoming no longer fits where she left him. And that, brother, is strength. When you act away, maybe you were still offering your best. Maybe your loyalty was intact, your heart still full, your intentions still pure. And yet she left. Whether it was confusion, fear, or selfishness on her part, it doesn't change one fact. She chose distance. And in that space, you were forced to face yourself. No more distractions, no more illusions, just you, your thoughts, and your pain. And that's where a transformation began. You learned how to sit with discomfort instead of running. From it, you stopped chasing answers and started creating stability. You picked up the pieces and built something better. Not for her, but for you. And how she wants to return. Maybe with apologies, maybe with regrets, maybe even with tears. But now the question isn't whether she misses you. It's whether her return fits the life you've rebuilt from the ashes. A Stoic man doesn't act out of impulse or emotion. He sees clearly. He doesn't reopen old wounds because someone knocks with nostalgia. He knows that not every connection is meant to survive evolution. As Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. That means living your values. even when they ask you to walk away from someone you once wanted to keep. Letting her back without reflection could be the costliest mistake you ever make. Not because she's a bad person, but because you are no longer the man who tolerates confusion. Half-effort or love flatly shows up when it's convenient. Your silence isn't revenge. It's reverence for your journey, your healing, your newfound standards. She'll lift a version of you that no longer exists. And sometimes peace is accepting that the door doesn't have to reopen just because someone finally knocks. So, for you ask if you should take her back, ask something more powerful. Does man I am now still feel at home with the woman who walked away from who I used to be? If the answer is no, then don't force a reunion. Let the silence speak. Your peace be the boundarian. Walk forward with grace, knowing you've chosen strength over sentiment. Conclusion: you've done the hard work. You've healed in silence, rebuilt in solitude, and redefined your worth without needing anyone to confirm it. So now, if Sheridan's, the answer isn't found in her words. It's found in your growth. The man you've become isn't fueled by nostalgia or fear of being alone. He's driven by clarity, by purpose, by peace. And sometimes the strongest act of love is the one you show yourself, by not going back to what broke you. Because not every story needs a second chapter. Some are meant to end so you could begin. If this message spoke to you, even just one line, drop a comment and share your thoughts. Your voice might help another man find clarity too. Don't forget to like this video if you found value in it. It truly helps spread the message. And before you go, check out the recommended videos on screen. Each one dives deeper into your journey of self-respect, discipline, and stoic strength. You've come this far. Let's keep growing together.